In this next episode of Why Communication Matters, I'm Natalie, and today I'm going to be in conversation with Anit Kurian, Redhill's Managing Director for Middle East and Africa. We are going to be discussing some of the most impactful and effective strategies for running multi-market campaigns. Anit has been in the industry for 20 years now, and he has worked across markets like India, Middle East, North Africa, and it's such an honor to have you here, Anit. Welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you for having me and look forward to this chat.
So, Anit, what are some of the most effective strategies for planning multi-market campaigns?
It's a very interesting problem to kind of define because there is no formula for that strategy, and the key is in the term multi-market. When you have a requirement to look at multiple markets for a particular campaign, launch, announcement, whatever that might be, the trick is to be conscious that each of these markets might have different requirements, different sensibilities, sensitivities, and all of those. The absolute formula part of it would be to be conscious of all of those and be able to have the local insights, the local counsel, the local data to really plan out most effectively what works in those markets.
So what are some of the local nuances to keep in mind when executing multi-market campaigns? Do you think it's important to think and act locally?
Very interesting. So the thing about being local is one, there is of course the ownership of the campaign or the thinking overall that the brand and the primary stakeholders can kind of own. And then there is the execution part of it. So if you think of it as breaking down a campaign into the strategy, the content creation, and the final execution part of it, the first two can largely be centralized, whereas the execution part of it needs to have that real local flavor. The advantage that a lot of on-ground insights and data can give you is to be able to flesh out that strategy better, which means that it probably makes more sense to have the input and the insights from your in-market team at the planning stage, instead of going to them with a ready campaign and saying, here it is now executed in a way that works for your market. In terms of our business, a lot of agencies, of course, a lot of consultancies have people on ground in markets who are able to feed back into the planning mechanism. But I feel that one thing that we do really well is to actually build out the local team and the support structure to be able to not just support a global or a local activity when it's happening in this market, but also to build out market-specific campaigns.
Have you come across any tools or platforms that you think are essential to supporting global campaigns?
Wow, that's a tough one because, as much as we all like to say that these are the tools and these are the platforms that can always help, I don't think something like that exists. It is always going to be defined by the particular situation, by the environment, and a lot of times by what the client or the brand requires. So, no, I don't think there is one, formula that really sticks out in my mind. However, there are certain elements of thinking that can always go to help you to roll out these in a more structured manner. And this could be even as simple as what are the languages being considered, what are the platforms, like the social media platforms that you should be considering based on what that market is using the most. What is the social media platform that could change also based on the demographic of the target audience? Is it a younger audience? Is it more female than male? Is it professionals only? All of those will then naturally define what platforms. This is also the kind of thinking that extends to when you want to measure and when you want to look back at the success of the campaign. Of course, you can go with broad, data-centric platforms that can give you a bulk of data that you then slice and dice in a way that makes more sense to you. There are also ones that give you the most local insights. So in certain markets, there are definitely players that give you a more nuanced view of the market than what a global platform could.
What are some of the best practices to running effective multi-market campaigns?
Well, here's the one-line takeaway. Talk to somebody in the market before you plan to do something in that market. And I mean, that really is the takeaway that I would like to leave, because all too often you find the parachuting approach into a market where something is cooked up in a broad scenario, and then the teams and brands are told to execute in a local manner. There are always things that get lost in translation in such a exercise, and it's so much easier, it's so much better when all of this local data and insight folds back and informs the master strategy itself, that then helps you arrive at a more inclusive strategy, if you will, that encompasses all of the audiences that you want to talk to.
Do you think that there's a particular value or benefit to working with a global PR agency as opposed to, many local PR agencies when it comes to executing such global multi-market campaigns?
Do we want to say global or local? That would be one thing to consider. Mainly the reason being, again, it could be a bit of a perception of how you define a global agency. Is it a global agency in that you're formed in a particular manner that enables you to have tentacles into each market as you need? Or is it that you're built from the ground up from each market to arrive at one global brand? I think we are the latter. We have definitely established footprint in each market, and use that as a way to grow into one large global brand. So I think we are more local than global, and that is it is a significant advantage that we are able to to talk about for the benefit of our clients and our stakeholders. The advantage here again is that it is the data and insights that fold up from from each of the markets, rather from the regions, to inform the global approach.
Thank you for your time today, and it's really interesting to hear your perspective on this.
Thank you, Natalie. I enjoyed it too.
We hope you found today's conversation insightful, and we would love for you to reach out to us if you have any questions on how to execute multi-market campaigns. Don't forget to check out our other videos as well, and we'll see you next time.